What is up, guys? Welcome back to the F1 2019 career mode. We're here for the Bahrain Grand Prix. Coming off the back of a decent start, a bit of a difficult time in Australia to say the least. But first thing of the weekend, great start to say the least. You can see we instantly have a fault with the car. So lost a little bit of time in practice, not too much. It was difficult to get used to the track. We had a setup for the race, so it was a night time, and you can see through here we do a bit of gymkhana, went out incredibly wide, and we just about drift around the corner and managed to just about miss the barrier, which was incredibly close. You can't really see it from that angle. This was the angle I was seeing it from, and it was just teasing the brake and the accelerator just to make it through, and it got incredibly close towards the end. This is probably the best angle to look at it, as we get so incredibly close to the barrier. It looks like we was going to go straight in, but luckily for us we didn't touch. But we had this incident with Pierre Gasly, who just slowed down dead on the apex, which obviously wasn't nice. But moving into qualifying, setting our first lap in Q1, and we're going to get an alright time, currently P8, but obviously a lot of time left on the table. It moved us down to P19. We ended up in the gravel on the end of that run, which wasn't ideal by any means, but pushes us through to P11, which is obviously what we need to get the job done there. But as a whole, it was definitely difficult here in Bahrain to get the car nailed. Difficult with the temperatures, I found as well. But you know, our first lap wasn't very good. Second lap, on the other hand, just about got us into P9. It was really close. Didn't really expect to get through that much. But on the cool down lap, you can see me and Nando Norris just having a little chin wag on the way back to the pit lane before we start Q3. I don't believe he got into Q3, so giving us a little bit of congratulations. You can see, not very good again, but always at the back. Our first lap, it's a really poor banker lap. We never actually get on the pace an awful amount, but obviously it's been a much better lap than the last before. I'm going to cross the line and go P8 provisionally, which you know, it's not too bad. We're going to come into the pit lane. We're probably get it bumped down to P9 just for Valtteri Bottas, but other than that, it's pretty solid qualifying when it mattered. But we need to work on our banker laps for sure. Our banker laps are very off, if that makes sense. So we just need to get on the pace a little bit quicker. That could end up biting us in the arse come a different race. So we definitely need to get that sorted. But on pole, you can see we have a Mercedes once again, surprise, followed by a Ferrari. But we'll get through that in just a second. We've got Lucas Faber there in his Alfa Romeo gear, and giving a few interviews to the press, probably about last race, about how close we got on track. But looking at the starting grid, you can see Lewis Hamilton on pole, followed by Sebastian Vettel alongside him. Just behind them, so you've got Charles Leclerc ahead of Valtteri Bottas. P5 Verstappen with Gasly P6. P7 and P8 are both of the Renault cars. Ourselves in P9 and Grosjean P10. Norris just missing out, followed by Magnussen, Butler and Weber 13th, 14th, followed by a row of the racing points, followed by Kimi, our teammate Alexander Albon 18th, and the back row once again occupied by the Williams. But this time, Kubica actually got ahead of Russell, which is quite impressive to be fair. That might have happened in Australia as well, but I can't remember. We're waiting for the lights to go out now, and we are underway. Once again, we get off to a shaky start off the grid. We need to crack on with these starts. There's got to be a way we can improve these starts and not look like Mark Webber, but it's going to get incredibly tight all the way down into turn 1. We've got the Haas to our right hand side, both Renaults just ahead, and you can see it's going to be a very short spread coming up the hill into, I believe it's turn 3 technically speaking. But you can see that Haas is going to the inside. We're going to go all the way around the outside here and possibly have a look at the Renault on the exit of Ricciardo, but he holds that line perfectly and we can't actually make that move there. But yeah, I believe Magnussen was just in no man's land. He was absolutely nowhere, gave us the opportunity to actually go up his inside. But moving a little bit further on, you can see we're a few laps in. You know, we're trying to keep up pace with the Renault, but we're not doing that great. You know, we're struggling a little bit in certain areas, but as a whole, our pace is actually pretty good. We're not losing time to Magnussen. We've actually got a bit of a gap to him, but for the Renaults for sure, they've got a little bit more legs on us, unfortunately, which is going to be interesting to see what we can do. But we're going to come into the pits on this lap, a little bit of an early stop just to get rid of the tyre wear. It didn't work out too well for us in Australia, but for this time I feel like we're on the right strategy, and a lot of people will be doing the exact same strategy that we're on, which is obviously it's difficult for sure with, you know, everything that's going on and stuff like that. But we're going to come through. You can see we're looking at the Renault. We've actually jumped Ricciardo in the pits, which is amazing to be fair. strategy actually worked. And we've got Nico Hulkenberg here, going to go really tight on the apex. We're going to have to go the long way around. We actually get the job done before we even get up the hill, which is very close. That was a very close situation for that to happen, which is absolutely phenomenal. But now we have a problem here. So the issue we have is I recorded all of these up to this point in one sitting, and recording the races, the qualifying, the practices and stuff like that in case anything happens that needs to be in the video. It requires a lot of space, and I actually ended up running out of space on lap 7 of this race. So unfortunately I didn't realise this until after the race, so I had to go into the race highlights to actually get the rest of this race. So unfortunately all that's left of this race is the exterior shots and the highlights, and the highlights aren't that great, if I'm honest with you. Like it's a good idea, it needs some working on. You don't see a lot of everything moving forward from that point. So apart from that race, you can see with that bit there is not far after what happened. We were just chasing all the cars down and just moving up through the field. Some of the cars that stopped a little bit later and ended up doing one stops, they were ahead of us. They gained a little bit of time on us, which was a bit frustrating. But for the most part of the race, we were just hunting down all the other cars. You can see we chased down our teammate here who came out ahead of us, and we actually managed to do pretty well. The cars were struggling an awful lot on the one-stop strategy, so the two-stop again was definitely the way to go. He did try fighting back, but you couldn't actually do it that time. So when we switched to the mediums, it was definitely a lot better. But this overtake right here on the racing point of Lance Stroll, this was for the final points paying position, so he did actually manage to get up in the points, which you didn't get to see, unfortunately, which was awful because it was a very good race, fighting back and forward, which is, it's a shame to say the least. But it is what it is. Not much we could do now. No interview, luckily. Ain't got away through that, and it saves me editing the interview just a little bit. But we managed to get this recorded at least. By this point, obviously, I've realised what happened and made sure that I got this bit included, so that I could show you the results and all the extra stuff that comes off after the race weekend. So apologies for that. This was the only time this happened. The rest of the races, I managed to get everything working and stuff like that. Our reputation with the team went up dramatically from that race, as you would expect, getting some points for this team, which is obviously fantastic. We'll look at our debrief and stuff like that, but we're looking forward to the updates for the next race. But there you go, you can see these are the driver standards, and there's the results for the Bahrain Grand Prix. Apologies again that this happened, but there's not much we can do. Lewis Hamilton obviously winning the race, as I reckon for the first few races that's how it's going to be. That of real life. The Mercedes is obviously rapid in real life, so there's not really much we can do in terms of how realistic the game is, which it'll be interesting to see the Ferrari get a few wins at some point in the season. But there's not much else to really talk about. And again, I've said it I think twice, but apologies. And it's kind of frustrating to have it happen so early on in the career mode. But if you're new around it and haven't subscribed, please do so now. We're pumping these videos out quite regularly, and other series will be coming out quite shortly. If you enjoyed this video, know it was a bit of a mess up, make sure to hit that like button for me. Next race is China. Really like that track as a whole. So that's it for me. Until next time, guys, I'll see you then. Bye bye.